So we're live right now. I'm just trying to figure out how I can do this. I don't know if that's gonna work. See, I need another computer too because I'm out of USB inputs. The fun of running an internet podcast. Anyway, all right, we'll figure this out later. We're not gonna have a picture of Mike. You guys all know what Mike looks like. Actually, you know what I can do? I can do this. I can take this. This is great. Hold on. I gotta go live to Alpha Geek. Oh yeah, no, this is gonna be awesome. Hold on, I know exactly what I'm gonna do. I should have thought of this before. Hold on, here we go. So I'm gonna first put us live on Alpha Geek Radio so I can show the world this.
Hello, world.
Okay, so we are now going live. We're now live on Alpha Geek Radio. Excellent. On both the video and okay, so hello, Alpha Geek Radio. How are you doing? Okay, so now we have that. I gotta check this out. All right, so we got Michael Jello right here. For those of you looking, I'm pointing to my phone, which is right next to my microphone. We've got Russ.
Odd name for your phone, Ek, but I'll let you. Yes. I'll let it slide.
I've been calling my phone Michael Jello for years. The scary thing about that is, you know, like with Android, how your favorites are listed. This is an iPhone, but with Android, your favorites are listed by who calls you or who talks to you the most. And there was a period of time when Mike surpassed my wife. And I was like, whoa. That was always my judgment of am I paying enough attention to my wife? Is Michael Jello past you on the favorites thing again? Oh my gosh, that's not good. That's not good.
That's a scary thing.
It's very scary. Very, very scary. All right, I got to get this together. So then we're going to get into the press conference because Mike was in the press conference. He's outside now in his car somewhere near Toronto. An undisclosed location.
Outside of the ACC, yes. Just
right.
Outside of the ACC.
Right, exactly. So I just got to get my... I'm going to ignore that call, sorry. Send voice. This is fun. This is fun. That was Pico calling me. Please don't shut off our power in the middle of this. Please, that's all I ask. All right, I just got to figure out why I am not. All right, 1 second. Almost there, guys. Sorry about this. This is always fun. All right, I think we're good. I'm trying to get. I said this. I took this great picture of Mike today. And hold on. Oh wait, I know what's going on. I think.
Has there ever been a great picture of Mike? Are you sure about this?
Yeah, no. It was funny because when Darren Drager, who asked the first question in the press conference today, did you see the press conference?
I did not. No.
Oh, you missed the press conference. What's wrong with you, man? No. So when Mike, I got it. Here he goes. Here he comes. It's coming up. Cool. Excellent. Cut up. So when Darren Drager asked the first question at the press conference, it goes to Mike, and like Darren Drager and Mike's sitting right in front of him, like Drager's standing up behind, and I see Mike's face for a second, then I see nothing but the top of his head.
Okay.
Yeah, obviously Mike trying to skirt the cameras. So I have to rewind slowly and painfully to actually get back to where I could see him.
It's too bad Mike's not average height because Drager's not that tall. He could have
No, he's not. I know. It's too bad Mike's not average height.
The funny thing was that somebody texted me and said that they saw me on camera, and I'm like, now everybody can see my male pattern baldness. Every fan can see my receding hairline. Great, wonderful.
Absolutely. You want it no other way. You definitely want it no other way, right? So hopefully at some point, oh, here it is. Come on, buddy. Stupid email from Mac. I'll figure it out at some point. It's just too good. Oh, it's coming in. So I see the messages are coming in slowly. I've got 79,172 messages, 69,000 of which are unread. That's something.
I've got you beat on Yahoo, by the way. I've had a Yahoo account since I want to say 2006, something like that. And I've never deleted an email, and it's well over 80,000, well over.
Whoa. That's I know there's no point to delete emails, right?
Right.
So yeah, I'm in the same boat. So I'm getting it slowly but surely. They're coming in here, but For some reason, it's incredibly slow. But we'll get to it in a second. Then we'll get to show you Mike's because I had to rewind it. I had to go slowly, and I had to just the moment that goes to Drager, I snapped it real quick because I know I saw Mike's face for a second, and I did, and I got the thing. I took a picture of it, and yeah. So we'll.
Yeah, and the most embarrassing thing is that I'm smiling for some reason, probably because Babcock or Shanahan made some sort of sarcastic comment, and nobody else around me is smiling, so I look like a complete idiot with a smile on my face.
Well, that's how you know you're not Canadian, because everybody in Toronto is not smiling. You're the only guy smiling. You're the American. It was obvious.
Right, it was obvious. I have it. Here it comes. Ready? It's coming up now. I'm gonna save this. I'm just gonna save this. This is awesome. Hold on. Here we go. Open with preview. Picture of my house. Here we go. Hold on. Don't want a picture of my house in there. There's a couple things that we do want to delete. Okay, here we go. Where is this thing? I've got so many windows opened up on my screen right now. It's just insane. This is exactly what you're not supposed to do on computers. Did I cut? Okay, so here we go. So I'm going to now share the screen. This is the picture of Mike at the press conference today for all to see. Here it comes. Ready? So there we go. There you get the bottom. If you can see closely, to on Drager's left there, you see Mike, the top of his head. And how many people in this can you identify, Russ? This is a good one.
Wow. Well, I see James Duffy there.
Right, James Duffy's right next to Mike's, but behind Mike, next to Mike.
Yep.
This guy standing up with a pad. We see him all the time. I don't know what his name is.
I don't know his name though. I have to admit.
Yeah, we've seen him a lot though.
Duffy's the only one that I recognize. I think I see Glenn Sater behind the guy with the pad, but I know it can't be. But it looks like
it can't be Glenn Sater. Yeah, it does look like Glenn Sater. It does look a lot like Glenn Sater back there. That's not him. You were seen again, Mike, later, and the next question was asked by the guy in front of you as well, who was sitting down. So I didn't get that one though.
I will say this: Drager has a good tie on. That's a good combination. I know this isn't like Fashion Police, but he would get an A for me.
Right. No, I agree.
The guy to the very right of me is Joe Bowen, the play-by-play announcer of the Maple Leafs.
Okay, there you go. Okay, so yeah, I'm trying to. Well, the funny thing about this, to show how closely Drager and Babcock were communicating through this whole process. Drager, right beforehand on TSN, I'm listening. He says, that Babcock came to Toronto because he wants a massive, massive challenge. And then Babcock says, in the press conference says, I came here because I want a massive, massive challenge. I said it twice again.
Wow.
I'm like, well, there you go. That is definitely the case that you guys are talking to each other. That's so, obviously they're talking to each other. And it was just kind of first. And but we really appreciate it because, Mike's been, he's relatively new to the press corps, and we really appreciate all the trouble Toronto went through to put up the sign when he got there. This is really this is really impressive. Sorry, just opening up all my things. Here we go. So this was we just wanted access. We didn't have to do this. This was not necessary. Hold on, it's covered up. Oh man, it helps if I can make this somewhat more interesting, somewhat better. Sorry, this is how poorly planned I am and trying to deal with this phone right next to me. Where did I do this? Oh man,
like the Uncle Floyd of podcasts.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. Okay, hold on. Here we go. All right. Hold on. Here we are. We got. Okay, we can do this. We can do this. Come on, you can do this. Here we go. Hold on. Wait. Up. Yes, got it. Preview right here. This is the Floyd. But this was really nice of them. I have to say this was awesome. Let me see if I can get this. Come on. What's wrong with me? Preview. Here we go. Okay, so yeah, this is cool. Honestly, didn't have to do this. Let's see if it works. But anyway,
people on the radio are now screaming out.
I know
that are listening. You know that, right?
I know. I'm almost done just trying to make this thing funny, but I'm not. But almost does not mean done. So here we go. Here we go. This is my attempt to make it funny. and it's not working. I'll try to get it later. But anyway, the joke here was this. The joke was this: is that they had a big Toronto Maple Leafs insignia at the front of this. When you went to the press conference before anybody was there's a big Toronto Maple Leafs and insignia, and then in big white letters on the blue background says, "Welcome to Toronto, Mike." And we appreciate the fact that we were just looking for access. We weren't looking for a grand statement like this, but the Leafs really did a good job by welcoming the Mike. And I know you said you're going to. Go ahead.
I felt bathed in the warmth of welcome from the Maple Leafs.
Yeah, that really was above and beyond. Just above and beyond what they had to do. All right, so let's begin. Here we go. Enough of that fun stuff. All right, ready? It's the Lord. Yes, I usually look on my phone for the date, but my phone is.
What about your watch? Look on your watch.
Yes, that's true. I can do that. Yes, it is the 21st. Wow. 21st on my hand as well as in the world. Here we go. Hello, Hockey World. It is Thursday, we're going to say. It's Thursday, May 21st, 2015.
I'm Russ Cohen from Sportsology.
In Toronto.
We're doing well. And that's Russ Cohen from Sportsology. And I am Eklund. And yes, Mike is on assignment. He's not in the same back of the minivan that Josh was in yesterday when he was trailing Mike Babcock. But he did actually come face to face with Mr. Babcock today. Happy to be moving to Toronto, and it is kind of cool. I will give Babcock this credit because he was saying that today is like the final day of his daughter's high school, so this is they're empty nesters. He says as of tomorrow. So obviously this was planned, to a degree, that Babcock was going to let his kids grow up in Detroit. Yeah. And now he and his wife can go with $50 million and live in Toronto. It's not a bad.
In the GTA. We'll say in the GTA.
In the GTA, right. He said he's going to live downtown in a condo. That's what he said.
Okay.
So, go ahead, Mike.
I was going to say, well, there are enough condos around the ACC, so he'll have the pick of the litter.
Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah, there's none. But he's going to be in a nice one. Now, come on, there's got to be.
You think?
Are there nice ones? I mean, you would think he would. He said he's still going to drive his Ford F-150, which was just blatant product placement. I want to throw that out there right now.
Well, Detroit, duh.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly. Come on now. So but if the Ford F-150, he's still going to drive through town if he can, despite the traffic issues, which are obviously going to be a problem. But yeah, it was an interesting press conference. And Russ, since you didn't see it, we're going to kind of give you the gist of it, which is that Mike Babcock basically said, "Be prepared for a lot of pain." Pain was the word of the day. So, Mike, how's it feel to drive 3 hours to hear a press conference about pain?
Well, I mean, I think the funny thing is, I think that Maple Leaf fans were probably very happy to hear the message of both Brendan Shanahan and of Mike Babcock because, we've had situations before, like Brian Burke 7 years ago, come in and say, we're going to go through a rebuild, and then change in midstream and make a bunch of deals that the organization is still dealing with now in terms of Dion Phaneuf and Phil Kessel. I think that Babcock and Shanahan proved that they were on the same page. They were basically saying that, Babcock being there does not mean that this team is, that they're going to change their direction and go away from the rebuild and try to be competitive and make the playoffs. The direction here is still the rebuild. Shanahan and Babcock said, there's going to be a few years of pain here. There's going to be a feeling out process. He didn't say we're definitely going to trade all these guys and, just for a bag of pucks.
Sorry.
I think what they're going to do.
Sorry, continue, Mike, but I just thought, that's the same line I used on my wife when I wanted to marry her. There'll be a few years of pain here and a feeling out process, but continue. Go ahead.
But there is a potential pot at the end of the rainbow because if they scout well, if they draft well, and you have one of the best coaches in the league who can develop and advance the careers of the talent that they bring in, then, you know, I think the rebuild as constructed by Brendan Shanahan and Mark Hunter and a few others in Leaf management could work. But this is not going to be a quick turnaround process, and I think that they stressed that today at this press conference.
Yeah, I would say that. I mean, that's, you know, and that definitely was the first thought that everybody had, right? Because it's hard to imagine Mike Babcock, you know, not thinking he can go in and win right away someplace. You know, I mean, and the funny thing about this whole thing is they have oversold this now, in my opinion, Russ. I mean, they've oversold it. This team was at one point a playoff team last year. This team is not as dreadful as all right.
I think they're getting more on the dreadful scale. Maybe they weren't at that point you're talking about last year, but by the end of the season, from a scale of 1 to dreadful, they were beyond dreadful.
No, they were, and they definitely were. But I think that, you know, you look at teams like, you know, that have turned it around really fast in the past. Colorado, you know, is always brought to mind. You know, Tampa in a way has done that. I mean, these teams have turned it around relatively quickly, and I just feel like we're waiting for the press conference, you know, because, I mean, Drager goes on TSN this morning and says, well, we can fully expect that the Leafs will be worse than they were this year for the next 3 seasons. And I said, that's something that I just can't imagine being possible. Like, you know, I mean, what do you really think so, Mike? I mean, it's hard to be worse than they were with Mike Babcock as coach, worse than they were this year for the next 3 seasons.
I don't know about 3 seasons, but at least the next couple. I mean, you mentioned Tampa Bay and other teams like, say, Chicago. The whole part of the process of becoming teams like that is getting picks in the top 5 and hitting home runs with them. If you don't get Stamkos, if you don't get Jonathan Taves, you're not going to have success like Tampa and Chicago. And I think Brendan Shanahan and Mark Hunter and Mike Babcock realize that. Right now, it's, I think, an evaluation period where they're going to maybe take a look at some of these players and see if they're keepers, see if they stay with the club long term. Guys like Kadri and Van Riemsdyk, Jake Gardner, those will be the players that Babcock evaluates. But I'm fairly confident that the guys like Lupul, Bozak possibly, definitely Kessel and Phaneuf, they're going to continue to look to move them out, because when this team is ready to be successful, I think they're going to be either too old or, you know, maybe just don't play what the type of game that Babcock will want to play, and they would not be a good fit with the new Leafs.
Russ?
Yeah, there's a 2-part risk here. I mean, there really is. First thing is, everybody's saying, well, the Leafs have unlimited money, but they already cut some scouts, and there's nobody's saying that they're not going to do that again in the future to sort of come in at some sort of budget in the front office, because it's not unlimited. Funds are never unlimited. So that's one thing. The other thing is, Mike Babcock's now going to realize life without Ken Holland. I mean, right. Ken Holland, if he's not the best GM in the game, he's one of the 2 or 3 best GMs in the game. And so he is going to realize, even if you are drafting this high in every draft, and I like Dave Morrison, I have full faith in him. However, you're not always going to hit a home run in the draft. There's not a Kane or a Taves or a Stamkos in every draft. There's just not. You can go back, and some draft years just don't have those guys. Even if you're getting the top guy, it doesn't matter. So this year, they definitely could hit a home run. Last year, with Nylander, they probably hit a triple. It's not a home run.
Right.
And so you're attempting to build that team. 3 years is sort of realistic based on maybe who is going to be a UFA and all those other things. But at the end of the day, it's still different to me than Tampa and even Chicago, because Chicago, hey, once they got Taves and then they got Kane, they were pretty much good. Everything else started falling into place, you know, Seabrooks and all the other guys. They don't have really even that yet. And that's the problem. There is not that one superstar to lead them yet.
Totally agree. I totally agree with that.
Well,
and
yeah.
Go ahead, Mike.
And well, the thing is, and I've talked to Russ about this before, it's more than just hitting a home run or being successful and recognizing the talent of a player in the top 5. The whole purpose of this new direction with the Leafs is to actually get players past the first round. Now, they have the 24th pick overall. They need to get a player who makes that roster in 2 or 3 years and not is in not as like a guy like Tyler Biggs, who has been a pretty big failure for the Leafs and probably will never play a game for them. And he was a 22nd pick overall a few years ago. They need to get young players who they can develop, who they draft in the 3rd, 4th, 5th round, and for them to go through their system and play 2 or 3 years in the ECHL and the AHL and stay in junior a little longer and be able to develop into players that, they don't have to go out and sign 3rd or 4th liners. They can develop their own, and that's what the organization needs. And I think that that is a plan that Leaf fans will be willing and patient to wait and watch and see. I think they're tired of this team going out and signing, the big free agent as the promise of somebody who is going to be the savior, because the free agent signing has never been the savior in Toronto.
Well, here's my point exactly, but I think some of this you can't help but think is a reaction to what happened before, and the problem is when you take on a team like this, you can't. This press conference is a definite reaction of we're not going to do what we did before. That's what this press conference is about. If you just took this team as a random team out of the blue, this press conference would have been ridiculous. But because of what's happened before, they have to come out and say these kinds of things, right? They have to say, okay, we're not going to rush this. We're going to take our time because we rushed rebuilds in the past. And I get that, but I don't buy it as legitimate. And
I'm with you, because let's just take, for argument's sake,
yeah,
Islanders give a call to the Maple Leafs and say, hey, we'll give you Okposo for Kessel. They'll probably say deal, because change of scenery, they get a veteran, they get a guy who can score, they get Kessel out, which is probably something they want to do. That's where I don't totally buy it. Look, Ron Hextall, not even 2 weeks ago, said he's not bringing anybody in over 29 years old. Well, he just signed somebody that's 32 years old.
Yeah, he signed a defenseman yesterday, 32 years old. I know that's the bottom line. Is this a lot of this is damage control, and this is Shanahan trying to make him look different than before. But at the end of the day, this is just another NHL team trying to win, and that's all it is. It's not. You can't go ahead, Mike. I know.
Well, no. I mean, to Russ's point, I mean, and we're just using this as a hypothetical. If all of a sudden Gart Snow called up Brendan Shanahan and said, "I'll do Poso for Kessel," he's significantly younger than Kessel. I think he's 3 or 4 years younger than Kessel. He's not making $8 million. He's not signed for 7 more years. To me, that's a deal that would be part of this process. You're bringing in a younger player who, if the Leafs did a deal like that, presumably they like a guy like that. I mean, that would be a step in the right direction, because they clearly don't think that the future is served well with Phil Kessel in Toronto. I mean, I'm not saying that they would rather do that than make a trade where they get a couple prospects and a first-round pick. I think they probably would rather do that kind of deal for Phil Kessel. But, the definition of what the rebuild is loose. It's not, we're going to do this, and that. I mean, it's going to be an evolving process. If they get players under the age of 25 who they think are good players and building blocks going forward, then that's part of the rebuild. But I think the other part of it is getting draft picks and building their own infrastructure.
No, that's definitely the part of it. But I just don't. I mean, there's no reason that Leaf fans should have more patience than anybody else would have. That. That's where I'm coming from. To me, that's what this is asking for in a way. It feels like this is. I mean, and I get it. I mean, because it's a reaction. But do you see what I mean, Russ? I mean, it's like there's.
Yeah, look, they pay top dollar, right? So that's one thing. And towards the end of the year, they weren't selling out. So that's another thing. What if attendance does start to drop and everybody goes, "Oh no, attendance won't drop"? You never know. You never know if the Canadian economy doesn't stay strong. You never know what might happen and what might spark a change in this course. And so that's why you can't get pigeonholed into saying this is all we're doing. And what if after year 2 going into year 3, they're looking more like the Edmonton Oilers than they are this plan? Then they're going to say, fans are going to start saying, hey, the same thing with the Sixers, right? We see it with the Sixers now. They're in year 3 of this plan, and fans are getting antsy. They're like, they were all on board year 1. Okay, we could lose. We get the top. Okay, great. Year 2, they were great. Yeah. We love this. Now year 3, all of a sudden, it's like, wait. why did we trade that established player for a chance to get the top overall pick? Because now we only have the 4th overall pick, and we're not happy.
Right. Mike?
I mean, to my mind, and I think that the Leafs have to, in a way, take the pressure off of the perception of Babcock coming in. And, fans are going to expect, because you're bringing in a guy like Mike Babcock, that this team will be better and will win right away because of his reputation as a great coach. What the Leafs have to do this summer is make no bones about the fact that they are rebuilding. That's why I think it's imperative that they trade Kessel, that they trade Phaneuf, and going into training camp, make it painfully clear this team is rebuilding. This team is not going to contend for a playoff spot. This is about, reshaping this franchise and developing young players, and it's not about winning right now.
Right, but I'm not of the mindset that in the NHL that teams are as far apart as this. Like I just don't think that yes, they can be the worst team in the league, but still they're gonna, they're not like this is not, the Erie Otters. This is still the Toronto Maple Leafs. This is still an NHL team, and I think that with a good coach, they gotta be better than they were this year.
Here's the other hypothetical too. Go ahead, Mike.
No, go ahead, Russ. Go ahead.
All right. So here's the other hypothetical. Let's say in a year there's expansion, and then with expansion, now all of a sudden they have that one game win or lose into the playoffs. Well, then all of a sudden more teams have a chance to make the playoffs than had previously. Yep. And if the Leafs do feel like they're going to be close to that, guess what? Then they're going to change their plan. I mean, that's the way it's going to be. Because otherwise, why didn't they just hire an AHL coach, maybe the best AHL coach, like a John Cooper type, and let him grow with the players? Why wouldn't you? Or even like a Dave Hackstall, why didn't they go that route? They went and got the best guy, and now they're telling the best guy, hey, you're going to teach all of our mid-level players for 2 years until our really great ones will come up. That, I get that they overpaid for that, but I don't totally believe it either.
Yeah, it's a lot of PR.
Babcock is on board with this, and somebody in the media scrum asked him the question. Asked him the scenario. If you're 4 points behind, next February at the trade deadline, the Leafs are 4 points out of a playoff spot, and the Leafs have an opportunity to make a trade for a second-round pick to get a player that might help them make the playoffs. And his response was, no. His response was basically, no, we're sticking to the plan. And that means our goal is not to make the playoffs in the short term. Our goal is to win the cup in the long term. And making the playoffs and giving up a young asset for a guy who's a rent-a-player doesn't fit into what the construct that Brendan Shanahan and Mike Babcock for this organization.
I get that. I do. And I think I think that's the right answer. And I think that would be the right answer for a lot of teams. Like what really bothers me is this whole thing of like that Toronto is somehow different, that they're allowed to tear this thing down, or that they're going to tear this thing down, and it's going to be okay to be worse than they are now for 3 years. Even 2 years. To me, they have to be better next year, a little bit better. Not a lot better, but a little bit better.
I mean, the Calgary Flames didn't say that, and all of a sudden they made it this year. So when it was clear that they were making it, they didn't say, "Oh no, let's put the brakes on. We don't want to make it."
Exactly. They traded Glenn Cross. They were in the playoffs. They traded away, and I could see that to me that's the better question to ask Shanahan. That's like you're now in 7th place in the conference and going into the playoffs. But that there's an opportunity to trade a player who you don't think you're going to be able to resign. Do you do that? That's like and Calgary did that this year.
They did.
Calgary has Goudreau, Monahan, Giordano. They have building blocks in place. The Leafs don't. They have a couple guys that they might want to keep, guys like Morgan Riley, guys like William Nylander. But the players who are the current core group with them have proven they can't win. So that's the whole thing. Now Brendan Shanahan and Mike Babcock are not going to say, "Oh, we're definitely going to trade Phil Kessel." They're going to keep their options open.
Yeah,
but
of course.
But right now, the proof is in the pudding in terms of what this team has done with these guys. So there might be a small evaluation period where Babcock wants to look at these players and say, okay, maybe we can keep Van Riemsdyk, maybe we can keep Kadri, and maybe they'll fit into this.
That's all right. Russ is being mauled at this moment, so don't worry about it, Mike. He's all right. He's gonna be fine. Just the big giant dog is entered into Russ's room. I'm gonna mute Russ for a second. Russ tries to take care of it. No, you're right about that. You're right about that, Mike. You really are, and I do get that. I just I'm just saying from the outside looking in, there's a bit of lack of legitimacy to this whole thing, and it's not. I know it's hard to put into words. No, sorry, I muted you, Russ. But yeah, there's a bit of okay. What are they really thinking here? You know, in terms of how this is going to play. Like, I agree, they don't have the talent that Buffalo has, for example, even coming up or anything that, but they definitely have Mike Babcock, who gets a lot from his players. I mean, he's gotten a Red Wings team that didn't deserve to be in the playoffs into the playoffs for a couple years now. He gets a lot from his players. You know, there's no Datsuk or Zetterberg on this team. You know, Babcock has been lucky. He's had Datsuk, Zetterberg, and he's had some players. You know, he's had some players on his team, but this is a team that I think that there's going to be more pressure to make more pressure to win, and I know that they're gonna. They can't just by saying there's not pressure to win. That doesn't make it so. That's all I'm trying to say. You just can't.
Right, and the dollar.
I'm telling you something right now. If the Leafs are 10 points better than they were this year, the fan base will explode because that's not what.
See, that's where I'm getting at. That's where this is ridiculous. I mean, that's where this whole thing is ridiculous. You can't.
This is a Buffalo scenario. This is a teardown. This is not.
You don't hire Mike Babcock to. You look what you.
He's on board.
Babcock is not Ted Nolan. I mean, it's not like you can.
Here's the other part too.
But he's saying right now. He is saying right now, and you have to take him at face value.
I believe it.
Is that he's on board with this?
I believe that 100%. I do, but no one's going to sit there and tell him to lose games.
Right. Well, here's an example. Let's say at some point next year, you know, whoever their goalies are, one of them gets hurt, and Antoine Bibeau comes up, and he wins 10 out of 12 games, like Andrew Hammond, and all of a sudden he goes on a winning streak. Well, all of a sudden, then they're winning, right? Ottawa didn't expect to win this year. All of a sudden, Ottawa was winning after trading away guys. It can happen, and if it happens with Babcock, he is not going to put the brakes on and say, whoa, I got to get a top pick here. I don't want to win.
Not going to trade away 3 goalies like Buffalo did. Like Buffalo traded away 3 goalies, right? I mean, he's not going to do that. I have Ottawa friends who were really psyched about the Connor McDavid sweepstakes, but they were way more psyched when Hammond got them into the playoffs. That's just the bottom line. They were, you know, because at the end of the day, unless the Leafs finish dead last and get, you know, whoever's going to be the next pick, you know, let's say this kid from Arizona, or whoever's going to be the next year's first pick overall. Even if they get that, that's wonderful. But if they don't get that, and we've seen there is no assurance, because if they finish dead last, they're probably not getting them and probably getting the second pick or whatever it's going to be.
Right.
So that there's no point in battling to change your position from 3rd to 6th in the draft. Like, and I talked to people like Columbus this year who were in the same predicament, right? Because Columbus started winning, and they were a bad team, but they started winning. And they said, you know what they said at the end of the day? They're like, what is the difference between 3rd and 7th when all is said and done? You know, yes, it's better probably, but isn't it better for us to get the momentum going into next season? Isn't that better still than this one player that comes in? You know, and that they didn't do what Buffalo did. They went the opposite way. They tried to win games.
Well, look what happened with Columbus. Ryan Murray's been hurt almost every year. He was the top overall pick. I mean, that's something that could easily happen to Toronto. And then if they're going along with this plan, and let's say William Nylander is this guy that gets hurt and can never get on the ice, then that sets them back even further. And then at some point, they're going to get into a meeting and saying, why are we paying Mike Babcock $6 to $8 million to babysit?
Right. And I'm with you 100%. You're exactly right. And I'm not saying that I expected anything else. I'm not saying that they didn't say the right things for what that base wants to hear right now, because it's obviously what they want to hear. They want to hear that pain is coming. And I'm sure that when the season ticket holders are calling up for the suites, Payne's coming. You should definitely renew. So I think, but that's going to be on the t-shirts that they sell at the arena this year. Payne is here. But bring on the pain, right? I mean, at the end of the day, you only live once. I just this whole thing is very counter to a lot of things in hockey in my mind, and it's actually, if I get I'm getting tons of heat for saying this, but Shanahan might be being manipulated by the Toronto media and the fans more than anybody else has been in that position. That's what it felt like today when I was watching it. I'm like, no one else has actually legitimately just giving the people what they want, like, as much as he's doing, and giving them what they want, which is masochistic. So I'm just throwing that out. That's my. Go ahead, Mike.
It's not masochistic. It's a means to an end. That's what it is. It's like, honestly, it's like I said before. Brian Burke comes in 2008 and promises the rebuild and then doesn't give it to them. This has not been done in Toronto ever, and the fans want this to happen.
Right, and I get that. I get that. I really do. I'm not trying to be snide or anything. That I get that that's what they say they want right now. But I don't get that that's going to last.
And if they're not, and I'm not saying tank, do a Buffalo and do it worse than Buffalo. And that's not going to happen. But they, legitimately, they want to be in the Austin Matthews sweepstakes next year. If they end up 4th or 5th, that's fine, because it looks like it's going to be a pretty decent draft. They want to accumulate talent. Right. They want to make adjustments on their young players, and they want to clear out the players who are not part of this rebuild.
I cracked the code. I figured it out. This is like a Rubik's Cube. All right. So when they said Payne is coming, I listened to the Don Sweeney press conference yesterday, and he said there's going to be personnel moves. Boston has a guy, Cody Payne, that they drafted in the 5th round, plays for Niagara. Toronto is going to acquire Cody Payne, and that's why Payne is coming.
You have to tweet that out right now. That's exactly what's happening. That's good work there. That's almost as good as finding out when a plane's going to land and take off, but it's not quite as good.
No. Well, Russ, Brendan Shanahan must be a big police fan, because now they're calling him the King of Pain.
Oh my God. Does anyone? I mean, anyway. This is nuts. But I get it. I understand it. I just think that there will come a time, just like there was this year, when we sit back and we're like, hey, the Maple Leafs are actually doing pretty well, where there's going to be a lot of people who want them to get better. And the one thing that wasn't mentioned during this press conference and made me insane, because what is the best reason to bring in Mike Babcock besides him being a great coach? What do you think it is, Russ?
I don't know. Go ahead.
All right. No, that's all right. Just thanks for playing along. The best reason to bring in Mike Babcock as a head coach is because he is going to attract free agents to Toronto, which is something that has been very difficult to do. He is because, and this is why, and he said it during the press conference, and I was watching Sportsnet, and I think it was Kelly Rudy came on and said that the thing that most impressed him about the press conference, and he nailed it. And I'm telling you, this players, Babcock protects his players more than Toronto players have ever been protected in the past. Like they will be shielded from the media. I mean, and it's hard to do in Toronto, but they will know that there's a safe place for them. I mean, the Red Wings players are always the most calm and relaxed players on the planet. They are, because when you talk to them, they're always, because they know that the team has their back. They know the coach has their back. They know they know that the media relations people will get them out of their bad situations. They will, and Babcock says, I'm going to protect my players here, which was an enormous thing that sort of got slipped under the radar, and Rudy brought it up right away as he thought it was the most important thing. And I'm telling you, that will make a difference, because there are people who are afraid to go to Toronto because they haven't been protecting their players. And I think that. Go ahead.
It might make a difference, Zach, but I can already tell you that, and I find, let me just say this, I want $1 for every time Steven Stamkos' name gets mentioned in connection with the Leafs from between now and when he signs his extension with Tampa in July, because that'll be the speculation that, now that Babcock is here, that he will be a magnet for free agents and that Steven Stamkos will come home. It's not happening. It's not going to happen. He's staying in Tampa.
But it's not about the superstars. It's about the second and third line and fourth line players who will come there, who are Babcock type players, who will play his system, who he knows he can trust. Those are the kind of guys that you're going to want to get. Those are the kind of guys that win.
I wouldn't be surprised if there's a deal between the Leafs and the Red Wings over the next year or so, that he gets guys like, Justin Abdelkader, or, I'm using that as an example. Players who know his system, who bought into the system. That's likely. If you're talking about mid-range free agents who take, like a one-year deal to come to Toronto and sell their wares like Santorelli and Daniel Winnick did, that's a possibility. But
no, I don't think Babcock's is going to go for those kind of guys. I think Babcock's he's going to go for guys that are committed. He's not going to, I think the 1 year deal thing's going to end. I don't think that's going to be the case. There's no reason to do a 1 year deal right now, especially, if you're not trying to win, like if you're, the main reason you make the 1 year deals are to try to win, that.
Well, no, not necessarily. I mean, you have to have players playing at the NHL level to allow your young players to develop. Instead of calling up Nylander or calling up Brendan Leipzig, you go out and sign yourself a guy like David Booth for a year, let him play top 6 minutes, trade him at the trade deadline, and get yourself a draft pick, and you're not exposing a 19-year-old or 21-year-old to the NHL. I mean, there's a reason to bring in a short-term filler, and that it's beneficial in 2 ways.
That's true. That's a good point. I'll buy that.
We'll see. I mean, this kind of reminds me of the Mets in 1962. They had the great Casey Stengel as manager. He was getting older. Babcock's not that old. Don't get me wrong. And all of a sudden, Stengel had to sort of like dazzle the media because the Mets had no players. So now Babcock is going to have to do the same tap dance if he has no players. And that could get old fast.
Yeah, and Dan Petrie put it out really well yesterday, Russ, where he said this reminded him of like a Manchester United move, like a soccer move of a big team that has a ton of money that can go and throw money at the coach to get it done. And they use their power. They use the one power that they have in Toronto, which is they have money, and they've got, and they've also got the Maple Leafs. I mean, and that is it can be an attractive place to play, and Babcock makes it more attractive because it's somebody who's cool, who's going there is like, this is a good place to play. But before that, it was starting to get a little bit crazy. So I think that this will help it. I don't think Kessel and Phaneuf will be there either, but I think that there's a lot more to do. So we're gonna move on a little bit because we only have a little bit left of time. But so Mike, if you got to jump off or if anything, feel free.
No, I can stick on for a few more minutes.
Okay, cool. I wanted to before we get into last night, Russ, I wanted to get into the Medvedev signing because a lot of people have been talking about that, and you know him better than most, I think. Or you know.
I know him a little bit. I don't know him that well.
Yeah, I mean, what I've seen of him is he's a guy that the Russians consider pretty important on their team. He's always part of their power play and stuff like that. What are your thoughts on the signing?
I mean, look, he's a good skater. He can move the puck. He does have some offense in his game, and that's all predicated on Olympic hockey, KHL hockey, worlds. All of a sudden, the worlds have become like the NHL according to fans. Like yesterday when I gave my opinion on the Medvedev signing, which was, I don't think he's going to be that good. Everybody's like, wow, he's the best guy in the world. Okay. But all of a sudden, when has the world become like a tight checking, hard, fast league? It hasn't.
Right.
Then all of a sudden has the KHL become that. Now, that's not to say guys can't come over and do well, but this guy's never come over. Now, all of a sudden, you're asking him at 32 to play in North America, to play a very safe system like Dave Haxtell is going to play, a near-perfect system because they're not going to have the greatest team either. So they're going to have to play near-perfect hockey to win games, especially defensively. And you're telling me he's not going to have hiccups in that kind of system? I'm not buying it.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. It reminds me a little bit of like Miroslav Dvorak or somebody coming in. Like the Flyers have done this before where they've signed mid-30s, early 30s, mid-30s guys from Europe. I was going to say the guy that Calgary signed a couple years ago was Cervenka, I think his name was, that they brought in for 1 year, and then he ended up going back to the KHL. I mean, it doesn't make any sense in the sense that he seems to be the type of defenseman they have too many of right now. Smallish,
Mark Streit, Andrew McDonald, power play.
Isn't he a little bigger than those guys?
He's a little bigger.
He's a little bigger?
That's it.
Okay, just a little. Okay, because watching him play, I don't again get a perspective. Again, because like you say, the worlds are different. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I question why he's 32 and hasn't been over here yet. That's my whole thing. I mean, this is like why at this point. I mean, it's not like he's living in the era of Miroslav Dvorak. He's living in the era of this, where players were stuck in Czechoslovakia until they were 30. He's not there. So yeah, I mean, we'll see. I mean, it is interesting, like you said. I mean, and the Flyers, with doing this in the middle of the Babcock sighting was not exactly the biggest PR
Actually,
thing they
he's
could have done.
6'3", so he's a good few inches bigger.
Okay, yeah, I thought he was a little bit big just from watching him, but I don't know. He looked like he stood up.
I thought he was a little bigger too. So I looked it up, but
in the Olympics, he was a good player. He was a big player for them in the Olympics. I thought. I thought the Olympics.
But again, completely different system, completely different kind of coach.
True.
How much English does he speak? How is he going to communicate with the other? I mean, these are all big things to all of a sudden, and everybody's like, well, it's just 1 year. Okay, but when you're a cap-strapped team, 1 year at $3 million could make a difference.
Yeah. Well, our friend our friend in the press box. She's going to be able to translate for everybody. That's
Natalia will have a fun time with
Natalia in the Philly press box is Russian, and she always translates. So she's going to become a very important person next year again.
Yeah, but this is not a slam dunk move, and this is not even a move. Look. Of course, what comes to mind is Yuri Depita. Everybody remembers Yuri Depita.
Yep.
Greatest player never to play in the NHL, and then when he made it, he wasn't great. I'm not saying he's Yuri Depita, but I'm just saying I don't know if he's even like a number 4.
Right.
He's probably a number 6.
Yeah, I mean they obviously needed to fill the Coburn and Tiemann in spots, right? So they had openings. So they're going to try to fill them. That's what it comes down to, I guess. And but I really was, does this mean that they're
Manning would be better to fill that role than this guy?
The Manning or Moran or Gustapierre. I mean,
Moran's not going to get there yet. Gustapierre may not be ready, right, because of the ACL. So I think they did this because they know Gustapierre is not going to be ready. But still, Manning. I mean, they signed him. Is he going to get a legit shot to make the team? I would rather have him than Medvedev. I don't even care. It's just strange. That's all.
Yeah, I think it's the fear of not having experience on the defense. I think that's what it would come down to. I think they want experience. Now he's not really experienced, but he's older, and he's good. I guess he's played in some pressure situations. That's what they're going to say because because they really are young on defense.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, I mean they're going to have Gudis next year. I mean he was injured when they made that deal. So, but this could mean they're going to move Grossman. They're going to move Shen. I mean that. They don't want to leave themselves out there in terms of not having a veteran option to replace them. But I'm pretty sure the contract amount was for $3 million for 1 year. That's a pricey fallback for the Flyers.
It is.
But let's get to the game last night. Really fun game. I mean, gosh, this has been the most. I mean, I always say that the best games in hockey are 6-5 games. It just feels like that's like the score of these great games. But this was a great 6-5 game. I mean, just back and forth. But what were your thoughts on it, Russ?
My takeaway was they can't continue to try and match Tampa's speed. I thought they would have come into that game trying to slow them down. They didn't. That's a mistake that Alain Vigneault could pay for. I mean, he really could pay dearly for that. He could pay dearly for keeping St. Louis on the power play too long. He could pay for the fact that every time they give St. Louis an opportunity to score, he doesn't have the trigger anymore. They have to stop feeding him in front of the net and hoping for the best and having other guys taking shots and let other guys like Fast play bigger minutes. I've been talking about Fast for a week and a half, and finally he's getting a little more playing time and getting more goals and getting more opportunity. To me, that's the replacement for St. Louis. At this point, I'm more worried about replacing St. Louis than playing him a lot. And the coach is still in between, and that's a dangerous place. Look, Dan Boyle got a goal. I'm happy for the guy. He played better. And is he still great? No. I would still try and get Matt Hunwick in there for either Boyle or Yandel. If I were the coach, I'd have to say, look, I understand these guys are tied into a lot of money, but at the end of the day, neither of these guys are capable defensively of slowing them down. Our top 4 is getting a little burnt out. Hunwick's got fresh legs. Somebody has to sit for this guy and see if a little bit more physical of a defenseman can come in here and slow that triplet line down. Because St. Louis was part of that triplet line last year.
Right. Right.
He was getting a lot of points. Now he's a different older guy, right? And
no, you're dead on, and it shows that it shows all in that how afraid Tampa was to play Washington and how happy they were to play the Rangers. That to me was because Washington would have beaten the hell out of them.
Yes.
And the Rangers aren't capable of doing that apparently, and that's it feels strange, that this Rangers team is not physical, obviously, and. No. But but you're right. They can't skate back, and they can't play this game. They're playing, and I think that the ego is there a little bit. It feels like we're the top team in the league, and they should have to play our game, and we can skate with them. But they really,
I never thought they were the top team, whether they won that trophy or not. That's the thing.
Yeah.
I know Vegas did, and I know fans did, but I always thought they were in the top 3, but never the top.
Yeah, kind of with you, Mike.
Well, this is what I don't understand. In game 1. The Rangers shut up the center of the ice. They neutralized Tampa's speed, and they won a close 2-1 game. In games 2 and game 3, now this could be a design of John Cooper to free up their offensive attack, but the Rangers are not playing that shutdown defensive style, and at least they didn't, or it hasn't been effective in game 2 or 3. And in 2 games, Tampa has scored 12 goals. Unless Elaine Vigneault gets his team back to going and playing that shutdown defensive style, the Rangers don't have a chance in this series. So I think they have to go back and try to shut down Stamkos and shut down Tyler Johnson and clog up the middle, because they can't keep up with Tampa Bay. They just can't.
And this is why, because Cooper basically did away with his 4th line and said, you know what? The triplets are killing the Rangers. I'm going with 11 forwards, so I get these guys out there more often. And the Rangers don't have an answer for that because they're getting more ice time and more opportunity and more goals. They are killing this team, absolutely killing them.
Yeah, and Lundqvist is playing his tail off. I mean,
people want to sit him and play Cam Talbot. They're idiotic. Whoever thinks Cam Talbot's going to come in here and do any better is an idiot. I'm sorry.
Lundqvist is playing as well as any goalie can play. Lundqvist is making some great saves. He's doing everything he can do.
That last goal was not a great goal, right? We all admit
the last goal was not a great goal. I mean, the only argument I would make for and don't call me an idiot, but the only argument I would make for Cam Talbot would be it would force the Rangers' perspective to have to play more defensive. Like it would throw them into that mindset of, okay, wait a second. This is Cam Talbot. We're going to have to hunker down and play defense because I think the fact that they have Lundqvist mentally allows them to take more chances a little bit, and that's killing them right now. But I don't think
the headlines. If Talbot went in there and lost, and they would show a picture of Lundqvist on the bench, the multi-million-dollar.
Oh yeah, no, I know.
Be like crowned, that would be it. It would be horrible.
Oh, I know. There's no, and then if Talbot wins, it's a mess too. I get it. It's like either way, right? But I kind of like what you're saying with Hunwick. I kind of feel. Because I think Yandel's been okay, but he is Yandel. That's what he is,
I know.
And he's an offensive defenseman, and
they're both offensive. But at the end of the day, that third pairing shouldn't have 2 offensive defensemen.
Precisely, and that's killing him right now. And
I got to run. I'm sorry.
No problem. Let's take off.
All right. See you guys. See you, Mike.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it's almost 2 anyway. But Mike, have a safe trip back. Okay.
Okay. Thanks.
And
talk to you tomorrow.
Thanks. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Remember, without the buzz, it is just hockey. Talk to you soon.